My day's not very busy today, so I thought I would make another one, and who knows, I may make 2 or 3 more. We're going to talk about something that, again, you think you know, but we're going to challenge that a little bit. And I'm going to ask you a question. Does God have a plan for your life? Pretty simple question. And you're going to answer the way you've been taught to answer. Yes, God has a plan for my life. Okay. And I would agree with that. But as always, I would not agree with what you mean by that. Because in your frame of reference, because you've been taught by the deception that God has a plan for your life, but you, with your free will, which we've already talked about, can affect that plan. So I would ask you this, if that's your understanding, are you on plan 2,900,000? Or maybe you're a better person than that person. Maybe you're only on plan 1,300,000. See, this is the problem with most discussions. Terms are not defined or clearly understood, and so the discussion is pointless. People just throw out the deal, well, God has a plan for your life. Really? Does he? Well, let me tell you how I would define the plan, the word plan. And I got this truth God showed me through the TV show Prison Break. Guy had a plan. He had all the stuff tattooed on his body. It was a plan. He had it all worked out. But he didn't control everything, and so little by little, the plan got rerouted and detoured, and more people had to be brought in, and it became very convoluted. So the question I would have when I ask you, does God have a plan for your life? I would say, yes, he does. But I would also say that if you don't control everything, you don't have a plan. Now, you would define that differently probably, but I'm going to show you why your definition is off and lacking. For example, you make plans to go on vacation. But if you really think about it, a million things could change those plans. Hey, I could die. You're going to leave tomorrow, but I died today. So those plans got moved aside. Your house could burn down. A million things that you can't control, that you have no control over, could affect those plans. So I ask you again, does God have a plan for your life? And if he does, is the plan based on your definition of plan or mine? God has a plan for your life, but a million different things could wreck it and make it have to be adjusted. Is that what you're saying? See, if you don't control everything, you don't have a plan. You have a hope and a wish, and you make arrangements based on that hope and that wish. That's what you do. You call it a plan, but that's what it really is, a hope and a wish. So at the core of this, I'm asking you if God has a hope and a wish regarding your life, but he is ready at the drop of a hat to readjust because you've done something different than he anticipated or wanted. Again, we got to quit just saying things that have no meaning. You know, well, God has a plan for your life. Preacher says that all the time. But he's not talking about what I'm talking about. He's talking about what you're talking about. That God's got some kind of hope and wish, but he's got to adjust it because you did this, you did that, you got drunk, you did whatever. And when you really challenge these things, these beliefs, it is obvious that they're not founded in truth. And again, the core of most of these things is you don't recognize God as God. You limit God in every way imaginable. Well, and I say you, but as an extension of Christianity. You limit God in every way imaginable. And act like you're worshiping him, praising him, whatever. But you make him limited. Well, I'm going to say this. God has a plan for your life. You may or may not like that plan for your life. But he's not having to adjust it every day because your free will got in the way. And again, these things are so obvious when you cut them open and you see, man, this is what I've always been taught. And these things are just thrown around. These things are just thrown around like they're truth. Preacher says God has a plan for your life. He means that God has a hope and a wish for your life, but it's going to change 2,000 times in the next 2 days. Again, God is God. So let's recognize him as God. And then the way you see things will be different. The emphasis will not be on you anymore. You're going to recognize that you're a frail human whose heart is desperately weak. And you're going to realize that, thank goodness, God's in control. And no, I may not like today at all. I may hate today. I may spend today griping at God about this or that because I just don't like what's going on. But I can trust that he is in control and he has my best interest at heart, based on who He is. So again, contemplate it. Does God have a plan for your life? I love you all.